Something I'm not sure if I said it at Hanukkah time, but basically it's going to be an overview of this Mishnah we did last week and the next Mishnah, right? It's going to be more discussing the main limud to learn from it. You with me? As opposed to we try and work out all the words and this and etc. So we said. שמעון הצדיק היה משיירי אנשי כנסת גדולה, הוא היה אומר על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. Right? We said last week that both the Bar Tanura and Ben Yonus earlier say that what does it mean העולם עומד? It means that the world was created for these three things. For the Torah, for Torah עבודה or גמילות חסדים. Now, the Bar Tanura, when he says that the world was for Torah, he says in order for the Jewish people to accept the Torah, right? Not that the world was created for that, but in order for the Jewish people that they were going to accept the Torah. Now, the Tosafot Yom Tov, if I remember correctly, says, why does the Bar Tanura say that? Because he has a question. When you say if the world was created for the Torah, so Torah includes everything. The Torah is all inclusive. What do you mean? Avodah and Gemilut Chasadim, that's not part of the Torah? Read me. The world was created for the Torah. Bereshit bara Elokim, B'shvil Yisrael shenikru Reshit, and B'shvil the Torah shenikra Reshit, right? That's why Hashem brought the world into existence. So what do you mean? So Al Shoshad Min Ha'olam Hamed, and you're saying it means the world was created for this purpose. So Torah, finished. Do you know what I mean? Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim, it's all, you hear what I'm saying? So he wants to say that it was referring to obviously the keeping of the Torah in a general sense, that's why the world was created. Included in it is Korbanot and Tefillah and Gemilut Chasadim. So when it says for Torah, it means that Hashem created the world for when the Jewish people would accept upon themselves the Torah, the accepting of the Torah, that day of Ma'amad Sinai. Okay. Now, the next Mishnah, when you say the next Mishnah, it says, Antignos ish socho, kiber mishimon tzaddik. Antignos ish socho, kiber mishimon tzaddik, hu yamer, al tiyu ka'avadim hashomshim et harav amat mekabel paras, do not be like the Eved who serves his master in order to get kabel paras, el yu ka'avadim hashomshim et harav. Now here there's a different in Girsa. The Girsa Rabbi Yonah is al manat shelo lekabel pras. Normally the Girsa is el yu kavadim hashomshim et harav shelo manat lekabel pras. Meaning, don't do it because you want to gain out of it, even if it's a spiritual gain, right? You want to gain out of it in this world and the next world. Don't do that, and do it. I'm not sure about that. You're doing it with you're not doing it for the reward. The Ben Yonah says, I'm not shelo lekabel pras. You should be doing it dafka. I'm doing it dafka. I don't want to get pras. It's more like you're saying, I'm doing it now with the intention I do not want to get tzchar for it. Not just parav. Yeah? That's the Ben Yonah, he says. Who?
That's against Ratzon.
Okay, one second. He says the Lashon is Ela yu kavadim amashim amanat shelo lekabel pras v'imora shamam alechem v'imora shamam alechem, and the fear of heaven should be upon you. Okay, now like we said last week, and we're going to see every Mishnah that this hu haya omer, that's what they used to say often for their generation. And the Yavits, Jonas Eibeshitz, says, you just find it over here. Yeah, one second. Yeah. So it says over here, I'm quoting here from a Brev's Sefer on Hanukkah, actually. They say on Hanukkah, but he explains these two Mishnayot. He goes with the Bar Tanura. This was the thing they used to say to their generation. This was the message for their generation. If you look in the Rambam in Akdama to Mishnayot, and also the Rambam in Yad HaHazakah, the Rambam, he brings the Messiah. We're going to go learn through now in Pirkei Avot. Moshe Kibbutz, Torah Yisrael, Torah Yeshua, v'chole. He goes through all the things till this in the Tanaim, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer ben Hukulos, the Rebbe of Rabbi Akiva. He goes right through, right? So over here it was Anshe Knesset Gedolah, Shimon HaTzadik was the end, and then he gave over, right? Yem Tignosh Isocha Kibel Mishimon HaTzadik, right? It was a Kabbalah, it was a Messiah, right? One Godel to the next, one Tanna to the next. So Rebbe asks, what was it? Why? What was it? Shimon HaTzadik, that was his message. Al Shloshah Dvarim Adam Hamed, v'chulei, and Antinosh Isocho said what he said, right? What was special about their generations? Yes, that's what I meant today. We're just going to look at the overview rather than going into all the diukim and this and that and other. If you remember, we did say last week, the pshat from Tzvi Shverba, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that he said Olam Omed. I think we said it last week, no? That we said Olam Omed. When we said the Tiferet Israel last week, we did. The Tiferet Israel said last week that even though you think it's referring to the world, the universe, it's referring to your private world. Remember we said that last week? Ha'olam, your world, stands on the following three things: Torah, Avodah, Gemilut, Chasadim. And it was the three levels: a person between him and himself, between him and Hashem, and him and his fellow man. Right? So Torah is him and his mind. He's applying his mind. That's building his neshama. Right? Himself. Avodah is ben Adon Makom, either korbanot or tefillah, and Gemilut Chasadim is ben Adon ben Atzmo. And we said the Tzvi Shverba says Al Shoshad V'Olim Ha'olam Omed. You take this world which is really not standing, it's transient, and you make it stand, you make it eternal. Because by learning Torah and davening and Gemilut Chasadim, you make everything physical into something spiritual, which is the whole purpose of everything, right? To make it Olam Omed. Okay, now, in the time of Shimon HaTzadik was the second Beit HaMikdash, right? Pre-Hasmonean era, yeah? Between the Chashmonaim, before the Greek, what's the word? When the invasion, if you want to call it, yeah? You know what I mean? The Greeks were, as it were, in control. Alexander the Great was, he was the king of the world, he was in control, and they had to answer to the Greeks to a certain extent, but they were on their own. The Beit HaMikdash was running, they were doing everything as they wanted, the Greeks, yeah? Were minding their own business. However, and there were miracles still going on in place, even though in the second Beit HaMikdash there were not the 10 constant miracles as we're going to learn later on in the 5th parak. You had the 10 miracles that took place in the Beit HaMikdash. It said in the second Beit HaMikdash they weren't, it wasn't so much, but in the time of Shimon HaTzadik they still had certain miracles going on, which were the Mal Derech HaTeva. Yeah, there's still 5 miracles going on with the Mal Derech HaTeva. Now, he realized the danger of the Greeks, right? He realized the danger of the Greeks, and he saw that their philosophy and Teva and all the rest of it is going to ruin the Jewish people, because it's the complete antithesis to Yiddishkeit, right? As Rabbi brings many Rishonim, I quote even the Rosh, I think it's a tshuva of the Rosh, when he's comparing secular knowledge, yeah, to the Torah. Chokhmat ha-philosophia, this is the Rosh speaking, it's a Greek word, that's where it comes from. The Chokhmah, philosophy, v'chokhmat ha-Torah, mishpatim, ein ma derech achat. They're completely on a different tangent, yeah? Ki chokhmat ha-Torah, hi Kabbalah l'Moshe Messinai. The chokhmat ha-Torah is meaning from Hashem, it's divine, right? That's the chokhmat, we make it up. We just Moshe Kibbutz Torah Messinai. V'chacham yidrosh ba, midinot, v'midot, shnitna yidrosh behem, u'medmei milta v'chulei v'chulei. And we have the Yugim Midot, we can darshan halachot, and we learn everything from the Torah. Now, and he says, Alpha pish en advarim nimshachim acha chokhmat hateva, anu holchem al pi HaKabbalah. And even if scientifically something should be this way, it's irrelevant as far as we're concerned. We follow what the Torah says. It's a malam derech hateva. It could be scientifically, yeah, that's true. Physics, you throw something up in there, gravity, it's going to come down, right? But when we follow what the Torah says, we'll see in a minute, it's a malam derech hateva. It doesn't go in the same way. אבל חוכמת הפילוסופיה היא טבעית, וחכמים גדולים היו והעמידו כל דבר טבעו. Now, he says, Chokhmah, the philosophy, science, right, basically, he says there was Uteva, and they did scientific experiments. And they had to, that the scientist has to deny the divinity of the Torah and everything it says in the Torah when it clashes with science. We did experiments. It's not true, right? Someone is immoral, they're not going to die because of it. You know what I mean? And if you don't plow your field and work your crops for a whole year straight, you're going to ruin your field and die of starvation. And it's pretty straightforward, right? No? You know what I mean? You don't be a rocket scientist, you're going to be Aristotle to work that one out. And then all the other things they said. So he says, the feature in this, this is all the Lashon of the Rosh, Tamim tiyeh Hashem Elokecha. You should be, simple with Hashem your God. Kloma, meaning, even if scientifically they've proven it to the nanosecond and nanons and electrons and neutrons and protons, and everything's perfect and how everything works, and they've got it and they can prove it to you. You can see with your own eye, with a microscope. There's these things and corona and viruses and whatever it is. Al tahare ala kabbalah ela b'tmimut italech lefanav. Don't get thrown off. Don't get thrown off. Even it's proven 100% scientific proof. So what? Says the Rosh. So what? It's all every Torah is ma'av derech hateva. We go with the Torah. And if it says, Torah, if you don't eat for 24 hours, or you do this, you fast, this and that, it's dangerous to your health. Yeah, there's the medicine, whatever is that, what's that magazine called? There's a not Time magazine, there's something called, some famous medical journal, some American thing, whatever it is. Do you know what?
Lancet's the British one.
The what?
Lancet is the British
Lancet, whatever. Yeah, wherever it is, they're going to say this, if you do this and this, so what? Says the Rosh, forget it. Okay? Now, however, the Greeks were very powerful. That was, the precursor of Western society, as we know it now. Wonderful Western society that's flourishing and everyone's happy and enjoying life, right? And just going Michael, yeah, Western society. Now, so they wanted to enlighten the world, like Napoleon, all the people in history, they wanted to enlighten the world, and everyone they conquered, which was the whole world. So they decided to be communists, make everyone equal, and everyone should be able to enjoy, the light of derech, of Chochmat HaTeva and philosophy, etc. And they started, influencing the Jewish people. But we weren't yet decrees or anything, this and that. Just, propaganda, and this was coming. It was leaking through. Shimon HaTzadik saw this as a Gadol Hador. He saw this, and that's why he said, Hu haya omer al shlosha darim ha'olam omed. This was the message generation. Don't be influenced by the Greeks. Al shlosha darim omed. The world was created for, and it only exists because of Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. And yes, it's true, if you're learning as much as you can, and doing Gemilut Chasadim as much as you can, and bringing Korbanot and davening as much as you can, so then the Teva, well, how am I going to survive? Parnosa, have to work, this and that. Why? If I don't plant in Shvius, I'm going to, where's my Parnosa going to come from? If I'm busy doing Chesed, where's my Parnosa going to come? I have to. Where by myself, right? Chayecha Kodmin. People throw out all the psukim and all the Mamari Chazal when they need to. It's very, people come big Tamil Chachamim when it comes to prove their point. Never noticed that? It's a thing. Oh no, Torah Mavoda, no Shimshon for Hirsch, and the Rambam was a doctor, and this and that, and he was. Do you know what I mean? And the Sephorno apparently was a doctor. I just read now today. The Saravadia Sephorno was a doctor. Yeah, you know what I mean? They were all professionals, and that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so they make a whole thing out of it. Yeah. So Shimon HaTzadik said no, and because of that, for 40 years he was a bit of the Kohen. He kept the door. The man of derech hateva. Hence, I think we mentioned it last week with this thing with Alexander the Great. This meeting with Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
This we said last week. I know, but we said it. We said it last week.
No.
The Gemara in Yuma says the Kutim, who were Goyim that all converted, and in the end it said it wasn't real conversion, and they went back. They got annoyed and they decided to snitch or malshim, whatever word you want to use, to Alexander the Great about the Jewish people. They said, Alexander, your Highness, the Jewish people are rebelling. They want to rebel against you and kick you out, and they don't want any Greek to get rid of you. So he obviously got annoyed. He said, fine. We're going to destroy Jerusalem. Had enough already. Why not? I'm bored. No wars at the moment. Let's go and just wipe out Yerushalayim. Yeah? Fine. And he went. He went with his army. Alexander was leading his army, the greatest army of the world, in control of the entire universe, known world at the time. And he went off, and it says he was marching through the whole night. And Shimon HaTzadik left Yerushalayim to meet Alexander the Great, which was basically suicidal. I mean, if you understand, it's basically sort of like, imagine, as if it were Chaim Oizer in the Second World War, I don't know what this and other, walking out in his frock and his hat with a few great Talmid Chachamim of Vilna to meet Hitler, or Rommel, whatever you want, on his way to just wipe out Vilna and especially the Jews. That's the equivalent. Just his frock and his hat, went off. He went his big day kuna with young Kohanim, and he walked all night with torches in their hands, walking towards this hill where Alexander the Great was going to come to overlook Yerushalayim. Okay? So it's suicidal, basically, because he come to wipe them out. And it says when the dawn rose, and Alexander on his big white stallion, you can imagine how he looked like, I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, what he looked like. This, strong, big muscle Greek. He was Greek, and it has to be big muscles, right? So this Greek guy comes off, and he comes off the horse, and he sees Shimon HaTzadik coming, for opposite, we said, in the big day kahuna and all the rest of it. He gets off his horse, bows down to Shimon HaTzadik, and says, what can I do for you? Everyone was in shock. I mean, imagine the equivalent like the Hitler, Can you imagine, to Chaim Oizer, Bob, Chon Wasserman, and Hitler's like saying, what happened? And everyone said, what's going on? Why are you bowing to your Highness? What is this? He's a Jew. Why are you bowing down to him? He said, this is Gemara Yuma. He said, whenever I go to war, I see this person's face before I go into battle, and I always win. It was a nest. Hashem made a nest. I'm not going to bow. I'm not going to show him respect. I feel in his merit, I win the wars. I don't know who the guy is, but now I've met him in person. He's got a special faith. Fine. So when he said to Shimon HaTzadik, well, what happened? You got lost. You're supposed to be in the base of Mikdash. He said, well, I tell you the truth. There's a group of people that lied, a bunch of lies, and said that we want to rebel against you. You think the Beit HaMikdash we offer korbanot, for the peace of society, and your kingdom should be, upheld, and you want to destroy us? Does that make any sense? So Alexander the Great said, what's going on? Who? What? They said, those Kutim over there who are trying to run off. When they realized what's going on, and then wherever, there's a whole story over there. Alexander the Great told them, do with them as you want, and there's a whole mice to how we got rid of them. They had a nasty death. Shimon HaTzadik said they should have this nasty death. Anyway, there's a whole interesting story. Now, this was all in Ma'amad Derech HaTeva, right? Again, he just went out in his big day kuna. No, not one knife, one arrow, nothing. The whole thing was dissolved. The Ma'amad Derech HaTeva. And that was Shimon HaTzadik in his door, because he kept the whole generation of Ma'amad Derech HaTeva. And the majority of the generation were holding there. And they were learning, they were davening, and keeping Shemitah, and everything they needed to do. And therefore, even this, they avoided a terrible war. Nothing. Gone. Right? Unbelievable. However, when Shimon HaTzadik passed away, and the Greeks' influence was getting stronger and stronger, and they were influenced, and they were asking questions, and Sveikas and Emunah, how are we going to do Shemitah, and how are we going to survive, what's going to be, right? And all the miracles stopped at the base of Mikdash, the Ma'amad Derech HaTeva, because it was a sign of where the Jewish people were holding, spiritually. And Tignosh Yisocha had to say to them, look, he had to talk to them almost like businessmen, and say, they said, look, we want to serve Hashem, and we believe in Hashem, and it's all nice and everything else, but money and how we're going to gain out of it, right? We're not going to gain. He had to keep them strong. And he said, don't try and get that out of your head. Don't try and do it because you're going to gain out of it, right? Because they were influenced. The person who thinks Derech HaTeva, what am I going to gain? I want to gain out of this, right? I'm going to do it for what? Unless I gain, why should I do it? So he was trying to drum into them. Do you understand? We already went down below Derech HaTeva. They're already in Teva. But at least you're trying to say to them, you're still keeping Torah mitzvot. Out you kavadim shomshim et Rabbi amanok be'bras, amanok be'paras. Do you know what I mean? The Avodat Hashem, even if this world you won't necessarily gain, there's the next world. You with me? That is what was going on with it. No, we haven't started yet. So I just wanted to read over here 1 second. 1 second. Yeah. So that was happened. That was what was going on, right? So that was the two periods of Shimon HaTzadik and Antignos Ish Socho, right? Why he said what he said, and Shimon HaTzadik said what he said. And when we say Eved, this we'll just finish off now. This is, I think, this is the Yavitz, the Chassid Yavitz. He explains there are two types of Eved. We know from the Torah, right? There's an Eved when a person was bought. He was never a slave, and then wherever he had reason, he had to sell himself as a slave. And then there are an Eved who's a Yelid Beitor. They're born into slavery, right? This person was born into slavery. He doesn't know anything apart from that. So he says the first type of Eved is not a happy bunny. Why? Because he was a free man. He knows what it means to be free, and he just wants to run off. He hasn't got a choice, but he's depressed his whole life. You understand? However, the one who's born into slavery, that's what it is. His father, serves the master, and that's a big covet to serve the master. They don't know anything. That's what they want. That gives them the opposite. The exact same job gives them happiness and sipuk. They feel fulfilled because that's what life is. They don't know anything different. You with me? There's the two types of avodim. So he says, this is what David HaMelech said, and what Antignos Ish Socho was trying to say to them. We say in Hallel, Ani avdecha ben amatecha. Pitachta l'mosarai, right? When we say Ani avdecha ben amatecha, yeah. So Ani avdecha ben amatecha. Ama Avriya is a maid servant, a slave, right? A Jewish slave. And David HaMelech says, Ani avdecha ben amatecha. I view myself as if I was born into slavery, meaning to be a servant of Hashem. And he says, and it means that I want to carry on serving Hashem. You understand? We're getting Pshat and Halal. This is a freebie over here. When we say Ani avdecha, what David HaMelech is saying over here, Ani avdecha ben amatecha, just like the person, the kid born into slavery, that's his happiness in life. And that's what he wants to do his whole life, is to make the master happy and do it, and that gives him simcha. So David HaMelech says, Ani avdecha ben amatecha, that's how I view myself. I'm happy. I want to be an Eved Hashem. You get it? I want to be an Eved Hashem. And he says, Pitachta l'mosarai, and then that's what he says over here, you can open up my chains and that, because I'm not going to run off. I'm not going to run off. The one that was bought, you have to chain him up, have alarms, this, that, and cameras, he wants to run off. The one that's born in, he's not interested in running off. Why? He's happy like that. So he says the Yavitz, that was two types of Avadim. So Rabbi finish off and explains, however, because the Greeks in their time, with the Chokhmat HaTeva, like we said at the beginning, right, this philosophy and everything natural and scientific, etc., influenced the Jewish people to such an extent, after Shimon HaTzadik, that they started making cheshbonot. How we're going to gain, what's going to be. You understand? It wasn't already the avdecha ben amatecha. You understand? And Antignos Ish Socho had to explain over here that you should be happy to do this. You should be happy to do Ratzon Hashem. Even if you're not going to get anything out of it. Forget all the cheshbonot. Forget how am I going to manage, what's going to be, this, that, covered, money, power. Forget it. Yeah? Don't be tevadik. And realize there's a bonus shalom yamin. There is the olam haba. There is a schav onesh. And to do it, he had to. You know what I mean? He was trying desperately to influence him. Shimon HaTzadik was there. That was obvious. You know what I mean? He was just getting them to stay on that level. He repeat them, yeah. Keep going. And then that was a big change. So you see from here, already the second and third Mishnah, the level of the Jewish people dropped drastically, and therefore the message to the generation had to change accordingly. Okay, very good.